We move on to traffic and travel. If you have traveled on Amtrak, chances are you have experienced a delay.
Yeah, WAND's Doug Wolfe reports now those delays often because freight railroads have been ignoring a law that's been on the book for 50 years.
Newer trains, higher speeds. You might expect Amtrak to have a great on-time performance record, but that's not always the case.
We need to enforce the law and make them live up to it.
The law Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois is referring to gives Amtrak priority over freight railroads when it comes to using the same tracks. Instead, dispatchers for the freight railroads frequently force Amtrak trains into sidings to wait for freight trains to go by. It ignores a law that has been on the books for more than 50 years.
I've been on those trains, my wife's been on those trains. It's so frustrating to think you're doing the right thing traveling Amtrak and then get stuck on a siding by these freight railroads.
Amtrak says that in 2021 alone, dispatching decisions made by freight railroads caused 900,000 minutes in passenger delays. Amtrak is now supporting a measure introduced in the Senate by Senator Durbin last year called the Rail Passenger Fairness Act, which would allow Amtrak to go to federal court to force freight railroads to enforce its rights to track preference over freight transportation.
The real life experience is just the opposite. The freight railroads, particularly Canadian National, end up hogging the tracks and making the Amtrak trains pull over and wait for long, long periods of time.
The Federal Railroad Administration requires 80% of Amtrak customers to arrive on time, or the freight railroad could face penalties. Amtrak Illini, Saluki, and Lincoln Service all failed to meet that standard in 2021. Indicator Doug Wolfe, WAND News.
Among the cities served in central Illinois by Amtrak are Champaign, Springfield, Lincoln, Bloomington, Rantoul, Mattoon, and Effingham.